Hi, everybody. This is Steve Hoggard, the pastor of Hickory Hill Baptist Church. Today is May the 18th, and we're doing something a little different today. Usually, I do a thought of the week, and I've been doing over baseball and softball thoughts and kind of adding a little spiritual emphasis on them. And I usually do a Wednesday in the Word and do it around Wednesday or Thursday midweek. Well, today, I'm going to do something totally different. I'm going to combine both of them. I'm going to just do one video, combine it both. That does not mean that it's any better or any worse. It could be worse. I don't know. But I want to combine both of them because the passage we're going to look at in the Sermon on the Mount, you get easily to apply it to baseball or softball. So that's what we're going to do. So we're in Matthew chapter 7, starting in verse 24. I want to read it to you, and we'll kind of come back and look at it. Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. So in this passage, Jesus is summing up everything he says is therefore. In other words, whatever he started in Matthew chapter 5 all the way to Matthew chapter 7 to this point. Therefore, in summary, he's saying, let me kind of summarize this up. Jesus is saying, you have a wise man, you have a foolish man. A wise man builds his house on the rock. The foolish man builds his house on the sand. The same storm hits both houses. The foolish house fell because of the storm. The wise man house stood through the storm. Now, the wise man is like a person who practices God's word, puts it into practice. And you got to notice that he did it before the storm hit. He was practicing God's word before the storm ever came. The foolish man is a person who does not practice God's word, and his house fell with a great crash. Now, how do you apply this to like baseball or softball? Well, baseball and softball are somewhat of a memory sport. And what I mean is you use the same muscle memories to pitch, to throw, to hit, the same muscle memories over and over again. And you do it so well that it's just second nature. We practice. The reason we practice is so we can able to perform on game day. Now, a good coach will basically work with your fundamentals, start you out with a very basic, for instance, catching a ground ball. They may not even roll the ball. You may have to come up on the ball or roll the ball before they even hit it to you and get those fundamentals straight, and then they work on, then the ball gets hit to you, then you throw it to first. You work on that over and over again. And I know practice is boring. Practice is sometimes not fun. It's just the same thing every day kind of thing. But the ideal is that you have that muscle memory that when game time comes and the ball is hit to you, it doesn't go between your legs. I'm very much testimony to that. One of my Little League games, it was the game of the year, and I blew it. I let a ball go between my legs. Just a routine, basic. I could have stopped it with my bare hand, but I didn't. So, sorry, I went kind of back in time there for a second. Anyway, so the ideal is you do it so many times that it's easy to be able to accomplish what you got to do. Now, that is why practicing. In this passage, that's the emphasis. Those who practice God's word. Practice is doing something over and over again. So that when you're in that game situation, that you can handle it, you can perform. The reason the wise man's house stood is because they practiced God's word before the storm hit. So many times as believers, we're going along great, and then a storm smacks us right square in the face, and we're devastated. And then we start screaming and clamoring for help and wonder why, everything is falling apart. If we would have practiced God's word put it in practice, continually met with him, continually to pray, to build that relationship. When that storm hits, we're able to survive through it in such a way it just scratches people's head and they say, hey, Steve's got something that I need. I don't know how he's able to endure that, how he can have such peace and such joy. It's because we practiced God's word before the storm hit. So what I want you to get out of this is this. For you to be all of us are going to hit storms in our lives. We are either going into a storm, in a storm, or coming out of a storm. We're all going to have difficulties in life. And how we handle those difficulties as a believer, we should handle it because we trust in God. And we trust in God because we practiced his word. By practicing his word, we're able to survive the storm. Those who do not practice his word, they're not going to survive so well. So just kind of keep that thought. And for you people that hate sitting and watching baseball practice, there's a reason for it. Because they get the kids to be able to do and perform the way they should when game time hits. All right, something new we're going to do. I finished up the Sermon on the Mount. I don't know about the thought of the weeks, but I am going to do something a little different. I think I want to talk about what makes a Baptist a Baptist. You know, I pastor a Baptist church. I got 3 degrees from Baptist institutions. And so I want to just talk to you about what a Baptist is, just to let you know. We'll start that next week. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you Sunday.